Thank you for joining us for this session, Going 100% Clean Energy, Strategies for Mobilizing Your Community. My name is Kate Madigan. I'm the Energy and Climate Specialist for Michigan Environmental Council and Director of the Michigan Climate Action Network. And I'm moderating this conversation today, this session today. And I was also part of the effort that resulted in Traverse City setting a 100% renewable energy goal by 2020, which Mayor Carruthers, Traverse City's mayor, will talk about today. And now I am working as part of Traverse City's green team to help implement this goal. And we've also been working with about a dozen other communities around the state to support their efforts to set similar goals. So I've been working with Jamie Kidwell-Brix with Michigan Green Communities and Regina Strong at the Sierra Club as part of this effort. And some of the communities that are working towards 100% renewable goals are represented here today. And so I wanted to take a moment, since this is an interactive session, to see what communities some of you are from. Would anyone like to share what communities they're from? Yes. Grand Rapids, excellent. Marquette, wonderful. Alpena, Ann Arbor, Northport. South Bend, Holland. Where else? Interlochen. Interlochen? Great. Wonderful. Well, it's really exciting to see the commitment of communities and mayors around the country and in Michigan, and also universities and businesses that are moving towards 100% renewable energy, which is really critical to getting our state and our country to the clean energy future that we need, and to do it fast enough to avoid the worst consequences of climate change. And if this transition to clean energy is done right and done equitably, it can bring many benefits to communities and to people in Michigan. So we have a great panel today. The first half of this session is going to be presentations by each of the panelists, and we'll take questions. And then for the second half, as you heard before, we'll pick up box lunches right there at 11:45. We'll come back and we'll have a discussion so we can learn from each other and talk about the challenges and opportunities in moving to 100% renewable energy. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our panel. So sitting right here is Mayor Jim Carruthers. He got his start in city politics when he advocated for Traverse City Light and Power to construct the largest wind generator at the time and the first municipally owned wind generator in the country here in Traverse City. He then became a Traverse City Light and Power board member for 8 years and served 8 years on the board. And now as the mayor, he championed the goal to get Traverse City to set a 100% renewable energy goal for city operations by 2020, which passed unanimously through the City Commission in December. He also served on the Traverse City City Commission for 8 years and served 8 years as chair of the Traverse City Parks and Recreation Commission. So wonderful, long service to our community. Regina Strong is the director of the Michigan Beyond Coal campaign for the Sierra Club. In that role, she leads the effort to transition the state's energy generation from coal dependency to clean, renewable energy. She also leads Sierra Club's Ready for 100 campaign in Michigan. And around the country, Sierra Club, through this Ready for 100 campaign, their staff and volunteers have been involved in many of the communities setting 100% clean energy goals. And I think there are 35 communities now that have set that goal. Is that right? It's hard to keep track. It's like a new community every week, or more than one every week. It's really inspiring. For more than 30 years, which is hard to believe, looking at her, she has been a leader in public affairs advocacy, and she has held executive leadership positions in the private, nonprofit, and public sectors. Next to her is Jordan Covely. He's a fulfillment manager for Inovateus. Am I saying that right? Great. Inovateus is a solar developer that has successfully deployed solar energy projects and products internationally, including the solar project currently under construction at Michigan State University. Jordan joined Inovateus in March 2016, and Inovateus is based out of Indiana and has won numerous awards, including being named one of the top 100 places to work by the Indiana Chamber of Commerce. And then we have Jamie Kidwell-Brix. Jamie serves as the network coordinator for the Michigan Green Communities Network, which is a project of the Michigan Municipal League. The Michigan Green Communities, it's a network of local government staff working to further sustainability initiatives across the state. Jamie previously worked as the City of Ann Arbor's Sustainability Associate and developed the city's sustainability framework. And now we're lucky to have her living based in Traverse City. So we're going to kick it off with Regina Strong.
I'm short, so I have to move this down a little bit. Okay. How's everybody this morning? We doing good? Good. Well, I'm happy to be here to talk a lot about what's going on across the country and here in Michigan as it relates to getting ready for 100. You know, one of the things that is really evident right now is that if it doesn't happen locally, it might not happen. And so how do we move forward is a real important piece of this conversation. So I just wanted to talk a little bit, and I think you've heard this from other speakers, about this transition that's going on from dirty fuels to the opportunities to increase solar, wind, energy efficiency. It's really literally squeezing out the fossil fuels that used to control our energy conversation. So the Sierra Club and Here and Now worked on a survey, commissioned a survey not long ago. This isn't the most current data, but what it clearly shows is where people are in terms of supporting the transition when you talk about the goal to renewable energy. This gives you a snapshot that across demographics, people support the concept. They don't always know what it takes to get there, but they support the concept. So public sentiment is everything, right? You've got to get people on your side. They've got to understand the benefit, what's in it for them. So I always like to throw this slide in. When you look at this particular slide, this is asking how willing are people to take action? What would they be willing to do? Again, across a lot of different demographics, people aren't sure what they can do, but they're willing to explore the concept. You know, people are really split on the timeline because they don't understand what it takes. I mean, we heard two vastly different versions of what a timeline could be from DTE and from Green Mountain Power. You know, so there are different perspectives out there on how things can move forward. So let's talk about why it's important to get communities and local governments to take action and to do something about moving us to renewable energy. One of the things that it does when a local official, a local community takes on the mantle of 100% renewable energy is push the envelope for utilities. It pushes the envelope of the conversation and it helps move things forward. And so when you mobilize people, when you get people talking and it becomes part of the conversation, it really is part of the movement to 100% clean energy. You know, when people act and demand and start the conversation, that's a way to move things. And that's why moving communities to the conversation about 100% renewable energy is so critical. Now, we all know how excited we were when Paris happened, right? And now we know that if anything continues on Paris, it's going to happen from the local level. And so many mayors, I don't even know the number now, Kate, you may know, have signed on to say they will continue the work, and some governors as well. And if we don't push that conversation to happen, it won't happen. So the activism, you know, the struggle is real, right? If we don't join the struggle, if we're not active in it, if we don't do something about it, it's not going to happen. So that's why local communities pushing is so critically important. Now, these are communities, some here on the left that have achieved 100% renewable energy, and several more that have adopted, you know, the principle and are moving forward around the world. So we need to be part of the conversation. We need to be active, you know, as cities step forward and take a more active role in the United States. That's a positive thing. That's us controlling our future. That's holding our elected officials accountable. That's moving the needle in the right direction. You know, so why would you target a 100% goal? it demonstrates political will and makes people think, what can happen if we push this forward? We have a mixed bag of political will in this state, but it doesn't mean we can't push those who aren't here in the right direction. Now, controlling the narrative, you'll talk a little bit more about narrative later. It's all about the conversation. You feel the momentum when you hear more and more mayors sign on, when more and more people are part of the conversation, and it builds that drumbeat toward really understanding the necessity for 100% renewable energy. And it sends a signal to utilities, this is what we want our energy generation to be. This is what we want the future of our state to be. This is the world we want our children to live in. And so this is another thing, as customers, one of the things I loved about Mary Powell's presentation is the customer obsession piece. It should be so much less about profit and so much more about people. And so I think we need to push our utilities and our elected officials to move in that direction. When you achieve it at a local level, it makes a difference at a national level. And so, things come from the ground up are more sustainable. So let's think about it that way. And it opens the door to work as a team. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I have a couple case studies in here. One is East Hampton, New York. They set a goal. They're looking to make it by 2020. And it just shows that it's a mix of energy efficiency, it's renewable energy, it's people understanding how they move forward. And this community stepped up to do that. Again, San Diego, a huge community. They have a community-wide goal, and they also have a Republican mayor. So I think whether you're Democratic or Republican, it's not a party issue. I think everybody wants to breathe, clean air and drink clean water and, for their children to be safe. So I just wanted to point out that it doesn't have to be a Democrat or a Republican. It just has to be somebody who's paying attention and knows what the future should be. This is old now because there are more, but I just cited 3 recent cities, Atlanta being one of the largest. They've set a goal of 100% renewable energy, and it's a really important beginning to the game, and then you continue to hold their feet to the fire. Like a lot of communities will do a climate action plan or they'll do something to start the conversation, but it's up to people to keep pushing that community to act on it and to make it real. So again, Atlanta and Hanover are cited here. Yesterday, I don't know if any of you saw it, in Miami Beach during the U.S. Conference of Mayors, there was an announcement from the Ready for 100 campaign of the Mayor's Clean Energy campaign where 118 mayors stood up and said, we are clean energy mayors and this is what we want for our cities. It was an amazing show of force. We have 5 mayors. Shout out to Mayor Carruthers over here, who is among those who stepped up to the challenge, and we're pushing more and more because we feel like momentum is building across the country and needs to build here in Michigan as well. They did a really cool shot on the beach that I thought I'd show you because I just like this picture. And I thought it just shows the strength of the movement. So that's pretty much all I have. I just wanted to say that there are opportunities for communities across the state to engage. And that's my contact information, regina.strong@sierraclub.org, as well as our organizer, Andrew Sarpolis, who's working on this. And we work in consort with the Michigan Climate Action Network and Kate, because we really want to cover the state. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Regina. And next up, we have Mayor Carruthers from Traverse City.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, panel. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. As Kate said, I got my start in politics getting involved with the renewable energy here locally and getting the wind generator put up on 72 Hill. Wise growth and human rights are also issues I very much support for our community. So all reasons why I got involved. But again, thank you, Kate, for inviting me here today. Thank you, all of our energy partners and all the contributors here today. I think it's our effort to reduce our carbon footprint and reduce our CO2 emissions, and I think that's what most of us are here today to learn what we can do and make it happen and do it better in our communities. I want to begin by thanking my community partners for really pushing me into this 100% goal. Dan Worth from Groundworks, Kate Madigan from Michigan Environmental Council, and Elizabeth Dell from the Citizen Climate Lobby. They were the three activists that really helped me to understand that this is a doable goal. This is something we can make happen locally. It's not that difficult, is what we're hoping for, and we have set a pretty aggressive renewable goal for Traverse City to be 100% renewable by 2020. I mean, a little bit more aggressive than others. And as Regina just pointed out, many other cities, Grand Rapids was one of the leaders, Northport, now we have Ann Arbor, Ferndale, and another one I didn't get written down that are all following the lead. So also want to acknowledge today that we do have, I said earlier, Tim Werner is a fellow city commissioner, one of my colleagues. He's also one of my reps for Traverse City Light and Power. Kelly Schroeder is our manager of HR and communications for Traverse City Light and Power. She's here today. And John Taylor, an energy specialist here, is one of our board members. They're all here today, so seek them out to talk to them as well. So all this could not be done with the help of all the people in the room. We're making this all happen. George Hartwell, the past mayor of Grand Rapids, along with the current mayor, Rosalind Bliss, have helped me to help us together develop our goals. And they've been real leaders in this process. So hopefully, as we're seeing from Regina's slide, more and more cities are going to buy onto this. I've always followed the old adage, think globally while acting locally. That's an old-timey 1980s kind of message, and I stick with that because it's us, boots on the ground, local people in our small communities are going to get things done. Traverse City is very fortunate to own a municipal utility. We're lucky in that aspect because we have a little bit of control over what they do and how they produce their energy. And we've been reasonably progressive over the years. And I'm going to repeat myself and highlight some of the things that we've championed in renewable energies over the years, as I said in my opening remarks. In 1996, Traverse City Light and Power created our green rate to support erecting the first utility-grade wind generator in the country here in Traverse City. I helped with the citizen committee to get people to sign on to that green rate. They said they were a little hesitant at first because of the cost. They said, well, what would it take for us to do this? And they said, get us 200 people to sign up to pay the green rate, which is about $11 more a month on their utility bill. We went out as a team of volunteers, and I'm sure Sally, I'm looking at Sally down here, she was totally involved in all this progressive stuff from the Inovateus Center and other people in the room. It took us about 2 weeks, and we had a waiting list of 50 people. So even back when we did this in '96, it was something that this community wanted to do. So we were able to get the first large utility-grade wind generator put up on the hill. At the time, it produced about 600 kilowatt hours of electricity for us. That was enough to power about 110 homes. Since then, we have purchased 5 2-megawatt wind turbines down near Cadillac and McBain that generate almost 3 times that amount of power. So we've moved forward, and those generators now are 3 times the size of the one up on 72 Hill. You drive by it and they look pretty awesome, but when you drive through McBain and see the ones there, they're huge. And if you drive down, one up to Lansing, you drive down the middle of the state, it's awesome near Alba or Alma. It's just as far as you can see these wind generators. I mean, what a great asset those are to our state and its portfolio. In 2007, Traverse City signed on to the U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. In 2010, Traverse City Light and Power Board set a renewable energy goal of 30% renewable by 2020. In 2011, Traverse City adopted the City Climate Action Plan that promotes environmental stewardship and economic stability through resource conservation. In 2013, Traverse City Light and Power partnered with Cherryland Electric Cooperative to build the state's first community solar project, which you see out in Grand along the highway, as I said. And now as mayor, I've set the goal with the help of our partners to reach 100% renewable by the year 2020. And as Regina pointed out, we now have over 323 climate mayors in the United States that have signed a pledge to adopt, uphold, honor the Paris Agreement, supporting climate action goals worldwide as outlined in this agreement. So hooray for all the mayors across this country. And in 2013, Traverse City Light and Power partnered with I'm repeating myself. Traverse City Light and Power accounts for 300,000 megawatt hours of energy for our citywide needs. The city itself only uses about 10,000 megawatts hours to manage our facilities, operations, which is about 3% of our total load. So that's what we're basing our 100% goal on, is the city's use of power in our buildings and our facilities. So that's why we feel as a group we can maintain this goal. Hopefully push it further with Light and Power in the future. This would be equivalent to 3 large wind generators or 40 acres of solar if we were to go in that route and work with Light and Power to invest in production. My team is working on these beliefs that the city can easily manage these goals through energy efficiency and renewable options. So if we're working with Light and Power on new opportunities, but at the moment our team is sort of coming together to look at our facilities and what we can do. Many businesses want renewable energy options and will locate where they can rely on such services. This is job creation, so I think a lot of mayors and a lot of economic development folks are looking at this as an opportunity to bring people to your community to, increase jobs. Locally here, as you know, this facility that we're in, Northwestern Michigan College, they also offer an associate's degree program in renewable energy technologies, helping to create more quality jobs here in Northern Michigan. Our Chamber of Commerce, along with Traverse City Light and Power, offers an energy-efficient revolving loan fund, which is a low-interest loan for businesses that want to invest in energy efficiency measures, which include an energy audit program. The Grand Traverse region is one of the fastest growing regions of the state, and we are doing everything we can to support cleaner alternatives towards energy production and efficiency to complement this growth. Currently, we've set up our green team, which are stakeholder groups from the Planning Commission, the City Commission, city staff, Traverse City Light and Power members, representatives from nonprofits, and members of our Downtown Development Authority to evaluate our city assets. The team will determine where we can build in savings through energy efficiency and where to develop best practices as we grow our city through our capital improvement planning to meet our aggressive 100% goal. Ideas our green team are reviewing include building energy efficiency into all future projects, updating older infrastructure and buildings with energy efficient options, including increased insulation, LED lighting, lights out policies, programmed heating and cooling, energy efficient windows, energy efficient trucks and automobiles, including alternative fuels, biofuels, electric vehicles, low energy use mechanicals, water conservation, low flow toilets and fixtures, right sizing mechanical equipment, and energy use throughout the city in our water, sewer, and public service facilities, and adding more wind and solar projects as we can through our budgeting with Light and Power. Renewable energy is our future, and we all need to consider building cleaner alternatives and efficiencies into our communities and everything that we do, because it's not only the right thing to do, but also it will provide cost savings to our municipalities in the long run. It will also keep, our community clean, green, and it'll enable us to leave a future for the next, people that come here. We're temporary here. We have short lives. There's many, many, many generations to follow us. And I want to personally leave a legacy to our future generations that's not a waste dump and a challenged environmental community. Our planet needs us. Our planet needs us to be mindful of what we're doing to it. And anything we can do at the local level and with the Paris Agreement options and everything, we need to work that way, because we're right on the edge. We can make change now to start slowing our carbon footprint and CO2 emissions. So we're doing it. but we need more people to step on board. So hopefully more of our cities will jump on board, and you'll hear from others about 100% renewable. It's something we feel we can attain in Little Traverse City, and you're seeing large cities all across this nation do it. So as partners, let's do this together and make it work, and let's really be proud of what we leave to our future generations. I mean, clean water, clean air, clean environment are all things that keep me in Northern Michigan, but we're lucky in Northern Michigans. We have that, but there's other parts of this nation that don't, but we can help them reverse the effects that they're causing on this earth. So together we're gonna do this. So thank you all again for participating in this conference. Please keep coming to conferences. Please keep taking this information back to your local communities. Work with your local organizations to make it happen. It's so great to see people from all over the state, as well as other states in the Midwest here today. So thank you, Kate, for pulling this together, and thank you, panel. So.
And I just want to say that it's really been a pleasure to work with Mayor Carruthers and other city staff, the city staff and city commissioners and Traverse City Light and Power, and it's been a real community building experience. So from that perspective too, I think I'd really encourage other communities to do that. And in that vein, we've created based on this experience and then working with Sierra Club and with Michigan Green Communities, we created a toolkit of materials. We have them available at our table back here and also at the Michigan Climate Action Network website. And this is meant to help support other communities that are looking to do this. So next we have Jamie Kidwell-Brix from Michigan Green Communities.
Hi there, everybody. I want to start with just a question. Who's heard of Michigan Green Communities before? I recognize most of those faces, so that's a good thing, but not a lot of hands, so let's work on that a little bit. And who actually works for a local government in the room? Okay, so a little bit different audience for me here. So I'll go a little bit with what Michigan Green Communities is, since, again, my familiar faces are the only ones that kind of knew what we did. Michigan Green Communities on its face is a peer learning network for local governments in Michigan. So kind of our key premise is we want to take homegrown best practices and replicate them across the state. I feel like I'm going to echo a lot of the same points that Mayor Carruthers and Regina talked about, is just how do we take this driving force and build the momentum to really keep it going and keep folks adopting new practices and finding what works in their community. And I think the key in the work that I do is what works well in someone else's community might need to be adapted, might need to be taken to another level to work in a different community. And so there's different ways that we can approach it, and how do we get people to talk to each other and learn from one another. Michigan Green Communities is a partnership of the Michigan Municipal League, the Michigan Association of Counties, and the Michigan Townships Association. So we really work with local governments of different shapes and sizes all across the state. We've been around since about 2009, 2010, and have worked with probably over 150 different local governments across the state. One of the key programmatic things that we do is to facilitate learning. We do this through webinars, through our annual conference that we just held in June, through connecting people to one another, case studies, webinars, just how do we get people to exchange information. One of the examples that I'll cite from this, and I think Kate referenced it a little bit in the toolkit that Michigan Climate Action Network has put together, is we have a peer learning group specifically set aside on climate. So we have about 15, 20 folks that once a month get together and talk about kind of what's going on in their world around climate and how to move it forward. And that can take a couple of different shapes for us. For instance, we did a peer review of Meridian Township's climate and sustainability plan. We did a peer review of, again, the toolkit that Kate put together and just tried to think about how we could make it more applicable to governments of different shapes and sizes. So we do a couple of these different ways to bring people together and, again, learn from one another, because if we can learn an example from one community, it saves another community staff time and resources in trying to take the next step. So again, another example, one community has a wind ordinance, another community wants to take that on. Just share that ordinance and kind of get started from there. So that's a little bit about kind of the premise of what we do and how we get it accomplished. The other key programmatic thing that we do, and if your community hasn't heard of this or hasn't seen it or doesn't even know what it is, we do the Michigan Green Communities Challenge. When we talk about, again, echoing some of Regina's points, talk about building momentum. We do the Michigan Green Communities Challenge once a year. It's a roadmap for sustainabilities to work on energy and sustainability initiatives. Traverse City just participated for the first time this year and actually won our prize for new participants. I didn't bring my big check today, but we did that earlier in the month. But what it is a online toolkit for communities to kind of think about getting started on sustainability, or if they're already somewhere along that path, to start benchmarking and measuring their progress on it. So we give bronze, silver, and gold level certifications. It's an opportunity for your community to take action and get recognized and kind of get a good first win. So it can really help start building that momentum in your community. It's divided into 2 key sections for us. So it's a list of action items that your community can complete. And so again, if you're trying to figure out a way to get your local council engaged or just get the conversation started within your community, then that's a good starting point, because it lays out 12 different actions that you can get started and kind of can be that conversation starter, that first step to take. And it also has a set of about 20 or so reporting metrics. So if you're in your community and maybe you are a little bit further along, but you want to start actually measuring the progress that you're making, we've kind of, as a group, our steering committee put together a list of reporting metrics that we think are the first kind of most important things to start measuring within your community. So again, it can be a good little tool to get the conversation started in your community, or if your community has already completed it, kind of keep encouraging your local government staff or your council to keep on taking the next step. So I want to talk a little bit about what communities are doing and kind of how they're getting it done. As Kate said in my bio, I actually worked a lot with the city of Ann Arbor in doing our sustainability and climate action planning. So I have a little background in how that kind of worked for a city that is a little bit further along. And I think the key point I want to talk a little about is success looks very different. It looks different in different communities. There's different sizes, different population sizes, different political structures. So it's not really a one-size-fits-all model. I think we all start with that goal-setting phase, and that's where everybody takes the first step, and Traverse City's taken that first step. And I think what we heard a little bit is now, how do we do something about it? We've set this goal. In some ways we're accountable, but what does it look like? What's the gap between setting the goal and implementation? And I think that's the key challenge for local governments moving forward. And people are doing this in different ways. We have Ann Arbor that incorporated sustainability into their master plan. City of Flint's done that as well. We have cities that are incorporating energy and sustainability into their capital improvements planning process. We have cities that are working on kind of challenges like the Georgetown Energy Prize to build momentum in their community. So there's a lot of different ways we can do this. I think the common thread is that you need a champion for this work. You need to hold somebody accountable in your community for it. I know that we don't have a lot of local governments, staff members in the room, but we have a lot of folks from, I presume, community members, businesses in the communities, people that are working on these projects. And you can kind of get those wheels turning forward and really get kind of action moving in your community. So I think the first thing that I would suggest to think about is, what is the right goal for the community that you're working in? And that's the first step. And then you need to identify who really should be accountable and be driving that goal forward, so who's going to champion. And that could be the local government, it could be the mayor, it could be a legislative body like the Energy Commission in a certain community. Or it could be a nonprofit group. You know, the city of Ann Arbor, in my work there, we approached it a couple of different ways. We actually established a group run by a nonprofit called the Ann Arbor Climate Partnership as a different way to kind of drive our goals forward and actually help provide some resources to the local government staff to accomplish those goals. So again, I think there are a number of different solutions to investigate moving forward. I would say from the successful examples that I've seen across municipalities, I think if you can incorporate energy and sustainability into all municipal practices in some way, that tends to be the most effective way to do it. So if you can adopt a climate plan as part of your master planning process, then it really serves as an umbrella document that gets asked through every decision. If you can get your council to review how each proposed project relates to energy or sustainability while they're approving that. That's a big step. How do you engage it into every conversation as a community to really get to the point so it's integrated into everything that we do? So I think it can take many different shapes, and I think, I hope that you can go back to your communities and kind of see what they're doing, and if they've heard of Michigan Green Communities, maybe that's a good place to start, and see how we can help them and see how they can move forward. We can do a number of things, as I talked about, webinars that we provide for people to work on. We also work on peer exchanges. We're actually working with the city of Traverse City to bring some other local government peer staff in to actually talk to them about, hey, we adopted this resolution, what's the next steps, and how do we do it? So I hope that you can take from the room today, as you go back to your communities and your partners and your organizations, say, there's a group out there that's working with local governments to do this, and if you have a challenge or a question or a problem, maybe Michigan Green Communities can help you puzzle through it. Thanks so much.
It's a little wobbly up here. Thank you so much, Jamie. And next we have Jordan Covely from Inovateus. And there may be, the lunches are all in here. After Jordan speaks, we will be breaking for lunch. There may be some people trickling in to get their lunches from other sessions, so just stick with us through this and then we will we'll break. But I'm excited to hear from Jordan.
All right, thank you. And thank you to GLREA for having us here for this panel. Thank you, Mayor Carruthers, for hosting this in your city. I know my wife and I have enjoyed coming here many times growing up, so we're really excited about your plan of 100% renewable going forward. But I am from Inovateus Solar. We are a South Bend-based EPC and solar distribution company. Our office is actually on State Line Road, so I can look out my window and see Michigan, but I can't quite touch it. So, our goal is to build a brilliant tomorrow through a number of different ways, but one of the ways that we do that is through the outpouring of our company, whatever comes out, the services and products that we offer through, either utility scale solar or helping the local installers, such as like CBS Solar, Harvest, and I think Solar Winds is also here as well, and a number of different small solar installers across the across the Midwest. Inovateus Solar started in 2005 as a green home developer. And then in 2008, decided that wasn't the way we should go. So we transitioned because of our contacts in the solar part of the company to be a distribution company, and very quickly turned into an EPC firm. And we're currently working on a number of different utility scale solar projects and some school solar as well. So here's two of our most recent projects. We did a 58 megawatt project with DTE in Lapeer, Michigan, about an hour north of Detroit. And we just wrapped up one with Kokomo, Indiana, where we turned a brownfield site into a PPA type thing for a utility down there. Oh yeah, sorry, a power purchase agreement. So in fact, we were actually involved in that one. We are a partial owner of the system along with Altera Power. And then what the utility does is they buy from us and Altera. And we own the system, maintain it. They have a fixed rate that they can get. And companies can do this as well. It's a fairly popular thing that we're doing now is ownership and more looking at a long-term 25-year asset. Working with a number of different financiers and banks that are saying, hey, this really makes sense. We can make money doing this and save the customer money in the long run for the utility bills. So here's just a couple pictures of the DTE site. That is the larger of the two fields up there. 2 other projects we've done. But one thing that we're working on right now, and how we kind of tie into this discussion is, mayors and cities and municipalities and utilities set these goals, and how our company is positioned is to help them achieve those goals. Once they say, we're going to be 100% renewable, the next day they say, how are we going to do that? We say, we're here, we can help you. Get your solar panels installed. We are a turnkey beginning in EPC company. And what we're really seeing in the market right now is that the push away from coal, whether it's political or not, the money doesn't pan out anymore. It's just not economically, it doesn't economically make sense. And coming from Indiana, we're one of the biggest coal states in the whole United States. But they're not building more coal plants because they're just not cost effective. I mean, the trend seems to be going towards renewable energy just because it's the most cost effective option. And the great thing is, it's the best thing for the environment as well. So, but Michigan State is the one that we're currently working on. It is the PPA as well. It's 13 megawatts DC. We started about a month ago and should hopefully finish before football season. It's going to be 13 megawatts of carports over their football parking, and we're really excited that they are pushing towards getting off of coal and going more renewable. Notre Dame also stated that they are hoping to be off coal by 2028. So another university that's right in our town that's trying to get off of coal. So we also are here's one of our portfolio slides. So this is what we have done in the last 10 years. The 2 top ones are the GTE projects. We've done a project in Georgia with Georgia Power. Michigan State, when it's completed, will be 13.8 megawatts DC. Cuisinart Resort and Spa was a project we did for Cuisinart, which is on the island of Anguilla. It is an off-grid system that powers their RO filters to turn seawater into fresh water so that they can water their golf course. So that was a very interesting project that was quite a while ago, and it's the majority of it's off-grid. There is some grid interactivity with it, but in Anguilla, the utility there will not let it backfeed at all onto the grid. So kind of an interesting system. Indiana recognized us, as Kate was saying, as one of the best places to work for the last 3 years. So as we move forward in the revolution of the green energy sector, we are excited to see how everybody is moving towards using solar and how popular it's become. A lot of the utilities we talked to a couple years ago, we would go in and say, here's solar, and they would say, what is it? How does it work? And now they're calling us saying, listen, we want this, and we know that this is going to be the future. So, and whether it's with that or with local installers and homeowners that want it, businesses that want it. I mean, especially in Michigan and Illinois, that the ROI is now, the return on investment is now down to 5 years. Indiana, it's a little longer just based on our political and the cost of energy situation. But so we are excited to be working with cities and municipalities in the area, and I will turn it back over to Kate. Thanks.
Thank you, Jordan. We're going to do something a little radical, and we're going to, instead of breaking right now for lunch, I want to open it up for a few questions to see if there are any questions for the panel. Yes.
I'd like to ask Jen about, so in this era of privatization, there's been some talk
I think that comes up every once in a while based on our budgets and what we have to deal with. I think those conversations are on the back burner at this point, mainly because I think we see the power in maintaining and owning our municipal utility and using it for the future and providing clean, renewable services to us as we move forward. So the current city commission, I believe, is not on that plate right now, so. It's in government, things pop up. People bug you about doing things. You got to evaluate that. You got to, have your elected leaders decide those things. I just don't think the will's not there to approach that. So, thank you.
Over there.
Yes, is there any movement toward knocking down forests and dragging away topsoil in order to put up the solar installation and using parking lots if they did?
Yeah, I mean, one of the great ways to do that is to put it on rooftops. So in New Jersey, that's really popular. We've done quite a few rooftops in New Jersey. The DTE site, we had to do very little movement of any. There was one hill that we had to shave off just a little bit, but I mean, it's not really disrupting the dirt at all. So, and then one thing I've heard, we've done a little bit of research into is cranberries in Wisconsin. During part of their growing stage, they don't really like sunlight. So what they have done is erect structures over the top of the cranberry bogs and using the solar as a shade for the cranberries. So that's another way that you can do that.
I would add, Traverse City is also unique. We have an airport right in our downtown, and you know that the airport is right over there. And we have these crash zones. And the airport property is regulated by the FAA, but at the end of our north-south runway, we have a little L shape, and our green team is looking at the opportunity of taking that 40 acres and possibly doing a solar array if it's economically feasible. In that case, it's basically open land with trees, so we have to evaluate, should we take down the trees or should we, possibly put solar panels there? That's nothing, we're not, doing anything yet. We've also talked about the rooftop or the garage, the parking lot solar here at the airport. We're working with the airport authority right now on those options, but in Traverse City, we don't have much land left in Traverse City to do that, so we're looking at rooftop. I mean, this airport facility right here, this industrial park, we're looking at rooftops and whatever we can do. So I think that's one of the areas that we're looking to do for the future of solar here.
We have a question over here.
This is a question for the mayor and for Jamie. There's tension in some cities, and particularly right now in Ann Arbor, between pushing solar in, encouraging solar, but then if someone puts a solar system in, the city turns right around and raises property taxes on the house with the solar equipment. And a lot of local communities, I recognize, are starving for tax revenue because there's been cuts back at the state level. But what I'm interested in hearing is, how do city officials at this county, township, and the city level, how do you view this issue and how do you address this tension? Because you can have all the aspirational goals you want, but if you turn around and raise property taxes on people that put a solar system in, it's counterproductive. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, Ann Arbor's far more progressive than we are, but we are taking the lead from Ann Arbor. I believe we've been working through our planning department to set up zoning around wind and solar projects so people can do them in their homes. As far as upping the cost or the of the taxable value of real estate, that's up to our assessor, and I'm not sure, I've not had conversations with her yet, what her plans are for that. It has also a lot to do with Light and Power and what they're willing to allow us to do to feed those systems back into our power grid. I mean, we're kind of at loggerheads on some aspects of that because the power companies get real nervous about independent providers or individual providers at this point. So I think our team is looking at those options. We're pressing our utility to consider these options. It's something, thank you for bringing it up, because it's something we will be mindful of. And yeah, we don't want, it's expensive for a home to put solar and wind on their home. And the payback could be 30 years. And then we're hitting another whammy if we're going to raise our taxable values. So it's a good question and something we should really consider at our team as we move forward with a recommendation on what we should do on that. So.
And I was in Ann Arbor when they were starting a little bit of this conversation, and I don't know if Wayne wants to give a little update on it. I would say there are challenges like that all across these issues. You know, solar and trees is another conflict we see quite a bit. I would reiterate the point I was trying to make of get it incorporated into everything that we do so that the assessor is in the room with the staff that's making some of these decisions. And the earlier you can get the assessor or the finance office engaged in these conversations, the sooner you can kind of come up with a solution. But that is one where everybody's hands are going to be tied a little bit. But if you can start the conversations early in the process, the better it's going to be.
Great.
Yeah, but that, I mean, this is an issue where, like, let's all act locally to change the state policy and kind of issues. I think this is one of those instances. But if you get the conversation started and you get the right people in the room, that can drive and create that momentum that we've been talking about.